Jay and his company haven't really contributed much to the core in a long time. They just sort of show up at governance votes and vote no really aggressively. And so if they wanna go vote no really aggressively on their own chain, then all the power to them. So we decentralize the whole game, see, and you're just not gonna make it, Samani. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back. I'm so excited to share with you our next interview guest. We're going to be speaking with Ethan Buchman, the co-founder of Cosmos, the ecosystem of interoperable blockchains, including Celestia, Osmosis, DYDX, and so much more. Ethan's taken time out of an extremely busy schedule to sit down with us and dive into the Cosmos ecosystem, what's next for Atom, and also some of his developments and how he got into crypto. There's so much to unpack, so let's jump straight in. I think, Ethan, just to start, our community are so excited to hear from you. History from kind of inception to launch, a little bit of background into the why behind, the Cosmos white paper. What led you to that?
Wow. Yeah. Feels like old history now, but I've been working in this space for almost 10 years now. And early on, bothered by some of the challenges that early blockchains were facing. So, we're talking about like the 2013 to 2016 era, let's say, where Ethereum is sort of the new thing on the block and everyone's very excited about general purpose compute platform, the idea of the world computer, and so on. But Jay was, the co-founder of Cosmos. We were sort of working together at the time. Were concerned about that model of having like a single blockchain for the whole world to do all the world's compute, and how kind of restricted and narrow that would be, and the impact that would have on scalability and performance, and especially on flexibility for developers. And so we ended up coming up with a technology stack, but also you could say a philosophy of blockchain design that we call the Cosmos philosophy, that's really rooted in these principles of sovereignty and interoperability. So the idea that any community should be able to run their own blockchain, they should be able to be sovereign over it, and yet even though they're sovereign, they should still be interoperable with the many other blockchains out there. And so that's kind of the vision that we set out in 2016 and stuck to, and have pretty much been delivering on for the last 7, almost 8 years now. So it's exciting to see it coming to fruition, and so many others in the wider blockchain ecosystem sort of seeing the value and correctness of that vision and starting to adopt it for themselves.
And just to hone in on that a little bit more, so you mentioned you saw some gaps in the Ethereum model, and essentially you went, you know what, we can improve on that, we can build on that.
Yeah.
And how was that then when it came to kind of formulating some of those conversations? Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ethereum was a very ambitious project, and we sort of came through and out of the Ethereum space in a sense. And we have a lot of respect for what they've built and sort of the ideas there. But Ethereum enshrines a particular programming model. It's a fixed environment. You're stuck with the Ethereum virtual machine, with Solidity, things like that. If as a developer you want to have more control over the stack, you want to experiment with new cryptography or a new kind of virtual machine or new ways to do execution, or you want to make a change in the consensus layer, or nowadays introduce some kind of MEV mitigation technology or so on. It's much more difficult, if not basically impossible, to do that, many of those things, the way you might want to in Ethereum, because it's just a single blockchain and it follows a particular path. Whereas with Cosmos, any community, any application can sort of fine tune any part of the stack just for them, right? And we're seeing that play out now with Celestia launching and offering data availability in a particular way, and DYDX launching and sort of moving away from Ethereum to have their own chain to control every part of the product experience in a way that best serves their users and their communities. And we're seeing many other chains sort of coming down the pipe. So yeah.
You've referred to the Cosmos story as the computer revolution, community computer revolution. And I mean, a revolution is not an easy feat. So you've mentioned kind of almost 10 years, 2014 was when it really picked up for you. Is there a year you could pick out as being probably one of the most challenging?
Yeah, last year was 2022 was the most challenging year for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk us through that.
I think, it was probably the case for a lot of people, just the macro climate and everything. For me personally, there were just a lot of organizational challenges that we were working through in 2022. Cosmos is kind of unique in the world of blockchains in that organizationally we're very decentralized, and a lot of other projects kind of say that, but we actually like live it, which has pros and cons. Pros are there's a lot of like resilience, and you have so many potential contributors and so many people that kind of understand the stack and are able to contribute like really high quality, high value elements. But the con is basically the coordination overhead, the additional cost, the difficulty of just interpersonal stuff across many different organizations. You have organizational boundaries and all kinds of things in the way. And so 2022 was just a big year of sort of changes, trying to consolidate and stabilize the organizations in Cosmos a little better. And I think we pulled it off. We're still quite the ecosystem's still quite decentralized, but I think things are better than they were in the past, and constantly improving too. So 2022 was a tough year for me.
Onwards and upwards. So
Yeah.
let's forward now. 2023, things are bouncing back. Congratulations, by the way. I saw that your team at Informa got granted to build out the shared security of Cosmos Hub. So Cosmos Hub I listened to your talk at Cosmoverse, and you were saying, Cosmos Hub is what everyone's talking about right now. It's so hot right now. So
how often do you think about the Cosmos Hub?
Well, now it's in my Roman Empire. I'm thinking about it every single day in preparation for the interview.
Yeah, good.
Talk our viewers through this and kind of what we can expect in 2024.
Yeah, so one of the big changes that was sort of an outcome from 2022 was setting up a sort of dedicated and focused team for the Cosmos Hub, kind of for the first time, and that was a joint effort between Informal Systems and Haifa Cooperative, and that work was funded by the Interchain Foundation, which has been funding the Cosmos Hub for quite some time. But the big outcome from that in 2023 was the launch of Interchain Security. So that went live earlier this year. That was the sort of the first major upgrade to the Cosmos Hub since IBC launched in 2021. So that was kind of huge. And now there's two consumer chains, Neutron and Stride, and a lot of sort of new excitement about and around the Cosmos Hub. That was what my talk was about. No one can stop thinking about it or talking about it every day on the forums, on the Hub forums. There's new proposals. So there's just like a lot of like really exciting energy coming back, but there's still a lot of like difficult work to do to make Interchain Security really everything it can be and should be, and really realize the vision. And so the proposal we put up for 2024 was a joint proposal between Informal and Haifa, was to continue funding the work we've been doing and really try to take Interchain Security to the next level. So address a number of the sort of like economic scalability challenges, make it easier for validators to run chains and for more chains to launch and to reduce some of the uncertainty and costs and frictions associated with that, and to really open it up as a platform to enable the security of the Cosmos Hub, which is a very high security chain, arguably one of the highest security Cosmos chains, make that security available to a wider number of applications and really expand the sort of economic zone that the Cosmos Hub and the Atom token are able to participate in and support.
And that's the very short-term, immediate impact that we'll see from Cosmos Hub. Kind of as a founder visionary, 10 years down the line, what impact do you think Cosmos Hub will have on the wider industry?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think about what we're doing in Cosmos as not really competing with other blockchains, but more so changing the landscape in which they compete. And I think that's what we did over the last, let's say the first 5 years of our existence, and I hope we managed to do it again. Exactly what that looks like in 10 years from now, I don't know. I think the goal is to enable there to be basically millions, if not many more, interconnected app chains, and to make it really easy for people and communities to use secure, decentralized applications and to understand the guarantees they're getting. I mean, a lot of my motivation just comes from the fact that so many institutions in society, you're sort of forced to accept what they offer you at sort of face value, and you can't really verify or understand how it's working, how decisions are made, and what kind of guarantees you as an individual or a citizen or a user are actually being offered. And then if those guarantees are violated, how do you enforce them? And so it just feels like there's a significant lack of sort of autonomy and agency in the individual and also in the community when using digital technology. And so my goal, and I think one of the major goals of Cosmos is to start to change that, to sort of increase the quality standards of our institutions, the kinds of promises they're making, and people's ability to verify those promises. And that all sounds kind of vague and high level, but bringing it back to blockchains, like it really comes down to the kinds of shared protocols we use, the guarantees those protocols provide, the cryptography, the distributed systems guarantees. And a lot of our focus in building things like the Cosmos Hub and IBC is trying to keep things simple and keeping the security model as something that users and developers can easily reason about and can understand. It doesn't have all this sort of hidden complexity and hidden assumptions under the hood that are going to sort of bite you down the road. So we're really trying to build like simple, very long lasting infrastructure for this new, internet of value or internet of blockchains to be built on top of.
And it makes a lot of sense that truly as a disruptive revolution, what you're looking to build, some of the implementations that you bring to the table, you can't even imagine how they're going to disrupt in 10 years' time, because it's going to have this snowball effect that we're not really going to see. Right. So far, what has been one of your favorite disruptors, or kind of like a holy shit moment for you when it comes to what you've created and then watching it essentially roll out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ability to like launch a chain and a money and have it immediately interconnect with many other chains and monies and be able to trade and be used in different places is just like such a unbelievable experience. I mean, anyone who built, smart contracts early on Ethereum kind of had a similar experience where suddenly you've launched an application, it launched permissionlessly, it's just going to run, anyone can interact with it, and it can interact with all these other things, but it was always confined to a single sort of machine, the Ethereum virtual machine. And now with Cosmos, you can have that experience, but with a whole network where you're launching a whole network and bringing this sort of new thing to life, and it's connecting and everything just kind of works. It blows my mind every time stuff works. I mean, I gotta say, you work on these protocols for years and then you launch stuff and now you're moving money through them. And it's like really wild. But the thing that I'm most interested in, and the thing I've been talking about for a while, is how we actually make money the killer app of this technology, right? I care a lot about the structure of the monetary system. I think there are a lot of issues in the way, finance and money are organized and orchestrated. We could do a whole other episode on, the history of banking and problems with banks and stuff like this. And you hear a lot of that in the crypto community, but then when it comes to the solutioning, it very quickly gets lost in the same kinds of financial shenanigans. And there's still, I think, an underlying ethos of openness, decentralization, censorship resistance, verifiability, all these kinds of things which are important. But I think we've lost sight of a lot of the larger economic impacts that we really want to have, and they just sort of get carried away in like, anarcho-libertarian just kind of rambling. And so I really want to bring that back and think, how can we use this technology to really improve the lives of everyday people and build real products that matter for real people that aren't just speculative. And I think we're starting to see, growing use case of stable coins as sort of a payment rails, and especially in, countries that don't have as developed a monetary system or banking system. And we at Informal are working on an approach to payments that we think will take that further and really allow, we really want to go after the problem of how can we clear the most debt for the most people with the least money. And we think that the Cosmos technology actually really allows us to tackle that problem in sort of a novel and very interesting and innovative way. And so that's what we're working on now.
And is the answer to that problem a one-stop shop globally, or does different regions have different solutions?
That's a great question. Generally, I'm a believer that different regions and different communities have to have their own solutions, and that you can't really have one-stop shop for everything. The humanity is just so diverse culturally and cognitively, and we have different needs in different places. And so you really need platforms and technologies that can tune to the needs of communities and that ensure that they remain in charge, right? That they're sovereign. That's the whole ethos of Cosmos, sovereignty and interoperability. And so the way we're trying to build these things is really to enable local markets and local sovereignty to emerge, but to still be interoperable. You need some kind of standard for global interoperability, but you don't want to force the same, application solution on everyone. And that's the balance we're trying to strike.
We interrupt this programme for an emergency crypto weather forecast. Get ready for a whirlwind of savings. We're seeing some high-pressure sign-up bonus systems forming in the northeast, with some exchanges offering up to $40,000. In the south, we'll be seeing some heavy discounts on hardware wallets, so watch out for those if you're going to be out and about. And then in central areas, there's a high chance of trading fee discounts, which should be settling in later on, so be on the lookout for up to 60% off there. Lush! For a more comprehensive forecast, just visit coinbuilder.com/deals or use the link down in the description. These deals are red hot, so make sure to take all the necessary precautions. Well, that's all for today's forecast. Now back to the scheduled programme.
And on the topic of interoperability, so I listened to your podcast with Scott Melker, which was a great episode, by the way. And you said, I will remain against the one chain to rule them all until I die. So let's just talk through that a little bit. Multiple chains working together. Are we going to see a little bit of a ratio shift from what we have now? Do you think it's going to be a more even playing field, or is it kind of like, it's anyone's game?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there's always sort of power laws at play that result in certain chains or certain projects rising to the top. So I think there will tend to be some kind of long tail distribution where you have a high concentration towards the top 30 or whatever chains it is that are sort of the most used or the highest market cap or whatever. But I'm a firm believer that the point of launching a chain isn't for it to be the highest market cap on, CoinGecko or whatever, but to actually serve the needs and values of a particular community. And that's measured in more than just dollars. And if so, all you're looking at are dollar denominated values of things, then what are we even doing here, right? Like the whole point was to move beyond just dollar denominated valuation of everything. And if we're not following through on that, then what are we doing? And so yeah, I think we have already seen a huge explosion in the number of chains. I think within Cosmos, there's there's at least 50, if not something like 100 chains coming online now and already connecting and talking to each other. So that's already a very different world than we were in a couple years ago, where all this was kind of a dream. I think we will see like ebbs and flows. Like at times, it will be too expensive to launch your own chain, right? But we're also seeing solutions like Celestia that make it a lot simpler, easier to launch a chain by offloading some of the overhead, the data availability, and so on. And so, I think we'll see more and more infrastructure come online that makes it easier. And as we continue to make the sort of application side and the UX side of things easier and more accessible, we'll see more and more use cases and the sort of wider, Web 2 community evolving towards using this kind of approach to deploying software and building software and building communities. Yeah.
You've mentioned Celestia and DYDX kind of earlier on this conversation. What are some of the elements within the Cosmos ecosystem, some of the projects that are most impactful for you, that kind of stand out right now as maybe kind of, I don't know if we can say favorite child at the moment, but things that you're really like, you guys are really going to disrupt next year?
Yeah, I mean, I really like anything that is pushing the boundary on some kind of technical innovation, especially at lower levels of the stack, and especially on the cryptography front, right? So anything doing sort of fundamental computer science in a more challenging distributed systems environment is really exciting to me. So Celestia is one of those. DYDX is interesting because they have such a big user base, but they saw the Cosmos stack as offering them the sort of technical platform to go and optimize and build advanced features that cater directly to their application. So it's a sort of really nice success case. We've also got ATOMOne and Penumbra, which are really exciting new applications that are coming online that they're built with a new application stack that in Rust. So they're sort of moving away from the traditional Cosmos applications being built in Go, and they're really pushing the boundary on some of the cryptography, really taking Zcash, let's say, as a jumping off point and pushing, much further, but doing it in the sort of in the Cosmos realm. And then more generally, there's, all these chains that are sort of connecting to the wider ecosystem. So Nomic went live recently with their Bitcoin bridge. So now, Bitcoin is sort of flowing permissionlessly into the Cosmos ecosystem and flowing over IBC rails. And you've got a lot of work on connecting to Ethereum and making the Cosmos technology work for the sort of Ethereum L2 roadmap and all that stuff. So we're seeing Cosmos everywhere. And that's the way I like it. So, yeah.
That's the way you want to keep it. Now, I do want to ask you about Proposal 848. This is something that we have seen covered at the moment. And your views and thoughts on Jaquan announcing ATOMOne. Is this an overhyped news topic for someone like you when you see this coming out? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I wasn't aware there was really news. I mean, I see it on Twitter, but it's probably a good thing. I think it would be a great unlock. There's been a lot of, so far the other great chains, Bitcoin and Ethereum, have both undergone their own forks, and it led to significant tension release. It's like that moment in a song where the guitarist is just like building up all this tension and it's and he just releases and everybody, the crowd goes wild. So I think that's what we're witnessing here. Jay's building up the tension. He's doing his guitar solo or whatever, but there's a lot of dissonance, and then I think the fork will just lead to this big release. I don't know if that's a useful analogy. No, I mean there's obviously, look, the whole point of Cosmos is that in general, communities and humans are so diverse and complicated, and it's hard to represent them in a sort of single way in a single state machine. And we saw it in Bitcoin, we saw it in Ethereum, that the community was divided over something somewhat fundamental. I'm not sure if we have the same level of divide in the community in Cosmos or in the Cosmos Hub as Jay seems to think. Jay's got his own sort of stuff going on and his own views, and I think has had a hard time engaging, and that's created a lot of sort of tension and adversity and, very heated and controversial governance votes and stuff like that. And so, probably him just sort of exiting and having a separate, building up a separate community would take a lot of that tension and sort of negative energy out of the core sort of Cosmos Hub debates and governance and would allow them to kind of do their own thing. And, all the power to them. I mean, we can't stop people from forking. So I think it would be probably a really great outcome and would unlock, a great, bright future for the Cosmos Hub. So I'd be excited about that. Of course, I don't think they can call it ATOMOne. I think Sunny suggested they call it ATOMOne, which is a kind of cute idea. But yeah, anyway.
That would be your go-to name suggestion, or you've got something else in mind?
No, I haven't. I don't really think about. I got to be honest. I don't really think about this very much. It's not something that I'm like too concerned with. I think it'd be great if it happens. It would be like a weight off and just like, great, go do your thing over there, and we'll keep doing our thing over here. And I mean, the Cosmos Hub community is very diverse. Like I was saying earlier, it's kind of unique in organizationally. Even though, Informal and Haifa have sort of been leading development of kind of, core maintenance and stuff, there are a lot of other contributors who are really trying to push the Cosmos Hub forward and find new directions for it and build new kinds of applications and functionality. And that's not, some of that's happening at Informal and Haifa, but a lot of it is also happening outside. You see it on the forums, you see other development teams contributing. You've got Skip, you've got Binary Builders, you've got Occlusion, you've got a bunch of others, Strangelove, and so on. And so, there's a diverse community there. And if, the Jay and his company haven't really contributed much to the core in a long time, they just sort of show up at governance votes and vote no really aggressively. And so if they want to go vote no really aggressively on their own chain, then all the power to them. So, yeah.
Do you think for the Cosmos ecosystem moving forward, this is going to kind of help the community push forward? Actually, this is a
I think it'd be a huge unlock. Yeah, it would be great. Yeah, it should have happened. Maybe should have happened a long time ago. Yeah,
better late than ever, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So now developments from a kind of internal UX UI developer perspective. Is there anything that you guys are working on at the moment that you can give us a little bit of a preview and expectations of?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, there's a lot happening in the wider ecosystem around UX that just lots of different companies are working on. I mean, we're seeing major upgrades all the time to the wallets. Kepler got a really nice upgrade. You've got the Leap wallet now. Now you've got the MetaMask Snap, so making it easier and easier for Ethereum users to start, using and leveraging the Cosmos tech stack. You've got a lot of teams working sort of under the hood to make it more seamless to do, IBC connections, to improve the quality of life of sort of interoperability and things like that. And there's a pretty huge set of improvements coming through the Cosmos SDK now that'll make it easier for developers to wire up their apps and to maintain them. So there's just like a lot of overall sort of lifecycle improvements for developers, UX improvements for end users through new wallets and better support. And we're just sort of constantly pushing forward new kinds of interfaces to unlock more power for devs and the chains they build to provide value to users. So there's a lot of different things there.
A lot of stuff going on. How do you keep track of it all?
I don't. Yeah, I just don't. I just go on podcasts and pretend to know about everything that's happening, but it's far more than I can possibly keep up with. So, yeah.
Do you find that when you have events like, for example, Cosmoverse was in Istanbul a few months ago, and you actually kind of see the scale IRL of what you guys have been working on, that you're like, whoa, okay, does it surprise you?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing every time. I'm like, wow, I can't believe we built this. People are always coming up to me like, oh, thank you so much for what you built. And I'm like, no, thank you for what you've helped build. And so it's just, if you feel like a really strong kind of community vibe there and a lot of like, appreciation and just so much like energy and passion to keep moving things forward. So that's always very fulfilling and motivating for me. Yeah.
Nice. Well, community now kind of brings us on to some of our audience questions, which, first of all, are you ready for the audience questions? I promise.
Yeah, I guess so. I gotta, whew,
Okay,
got a fan
amazing. We're
blowing or
ready.
something.
So the first one we have is a nice one. Strategies that you have fostered to maintain a strong and engaged community in Cosmos Hub, and how important is the community involvement in the project's success?
Yeah, I mean, it's been super important. I think a big part of what we tried to do is sort of give it all away very early and make it not just about, us or the founders or the core team or the core entities or anything like that, but really make it like an open, inclusive environment that's there to really serve everyone. And I think what's kind of unique about the Cosmos Hub is that it's sort of the only chain in the entire ecosystem whose primary priority hasn't really been itself. It's been kind of the wider set of Cosmos chains. And that's that has pros and cons. That leads people to be like, oh well, what's the point of this chain that doesn't even take care of itself or try to pump its own coin or whatever. But it's playing a longer game, and that longer game is about building a wider community, and I think that's part of what's led to there being so much sort of engagement and passion and excitement around the Cosmos Hub, because there's no sort of single team that directs it or controls it or really leads it. It is very much a sort of community initiative, and that has challenges that the community has to cope with, but it also is also very exciting because it uniquely positions the chain amongst basically every other chain in the ecosystem besides maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum. It sort of puts it up there in a sense, and organizationally. So that's very important. Yeah.
Okay, so next question: the purpose of Atom token in the Cosmos ecosystem. And we've got Rusky asking, heard many times it's a meme coin without a use case except for staking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that every token is a meme coin without a use case except for whatever its base use case is. I mean, Bitcoin is a meme coin, for sending pet rocks around, and ETH is a meme coin for running some smart contracts. So maybe Atom is a meme coin for governing the interchain. But yeah, I mean, the goal of the Cosmos Hub is to provide a sort of safe and secure and robust monetary and economic environment, and Atom is the token that kind of enables that. So it's targeting a sort of being a foundation for an interchain monetary system. Some people want to call it interchain money. I have more nuanced takes on money than that, but I'll call it interchain capital or something. But the goal of the hub is to really provide a secure a secure anchor in the sort of thrashing sea of innovation happening around it, that's reliable, that's stable for the long term, but that also offers core functionality. You've got smart contracts on Neutron, that's secured by the hub. You've got liquid staking now, so you can use Atom in a wide variety of places through its liquid stake form. And what's unique about Atom and the Cosmos Hub is the sort of level of governance and engagement you have. And like, I was making a joke to someone recently where they were like, oh, governance and arguing with people in public isn't a use case. And I was like, well, go tell that to the Roman Empire, because that's basically all, all they did was governance and arguing in public, right? And they took over the Mediterranean. So anyway, I think that's kind of that's kind of going to be a constant struggle when you're playing a longer term game for people to be like, what's your use case? There's so many other tokens, and there's an element of truth to that. But ultimately, Atom is about being secure and sort of sound interchain money or interchain capital, and providing a sort of safe jumping off point for the rest of the interchain ecosystem. And that's what we're going to keep building. Yeah.
And you believe in interoperability. So multiple use cases for multiple kind of chains is the vision. So it makes sense. Well, next question is the big one, is what happened in the 1600s?
Yeah, so I talk about the 16th century a lot. So it would have been the 1570s more than the 1600s. Well, let's see. There was how much time do we have?
Where to begin? I mean, I've got no more calls for the rest of the day, so let's hit it.
No, I do, unfortunately. No, so what happened was, look, there used to be people go on and on about history of money. There's a lot of myths about the history of money, and people will focus on the coins and the metal in the coins, and they'll talk about sound money as being metals with gold, and there's a lot wrong with those narratives. But what they also miss was that there's been a parallel history for a long time of a banking system that uses non-metallic money to clear debts, right? And so arguably one of the most important things happening at the heart of a monetary financial system has nothing to do with, having gold in your money. What it has to do with are the clubs that bankers set up to clear their own debts, right? They set up these clearing clubs, and for hundreds of years, starting maybe in the 12th century or something like that, they would gather at these fairs, mostly in France, for better or for worse, and they would clear all their debts with each other, right? Every quarter they'd get together and they'd clear all the debts without using almost any money at all. And this system basically broke down somewhat catastrophically in the 1570s, and led the collapse of the system led directly to the rise of central banks and the sort of modern monetary constitution and modern states and all of that stuff that took off in the 17th century, in the 1600s and so on. People point to like the Peace of Westphalia and the Constitution of the Dutch and the Bank of England, which came in the late 1600s. All of that stuff, you really want to understand where it came from, you have to actually look a century earlier in the 1500s, and especially at the collapse of the previous system in the 1570s. And so a lot of what I'm focused on now is how we can revive that older function of clearing, which the banks still use today, but make it available to everyone, right? So banks are running closed clearing clubs, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years, and it works for them. And what we want is to build systems that are, provide those clearing clubs on sort of an open basis. But in the 1570s, really finance changed from being focused on financing trade and the sort of real economy to financing states and indefinite debts and war and all that stuff. And so if you want to understand that and the rise of central banks, you have to understand the 1570s. So I've become a little bit overwhelmingly preoccupied with that. Yeah.
What was the cause for the failure in the 1570s?
In the 1570s. Yeah, it was a confluence of things. So the old system was, it generated its own instability. Basically, in the old system, you had many units of account. Every prince, all over Europe, they all had their own unit of account. And each prince overvalued his own unit of account. They had seigniorage, right? And everyone kind of understands that. And what the bankers were doing through their clearing network is they were able to systematically harvest for themselves the prince's seigniorage, right? So the prince would be like, I'm the prince, I can charge, more for my unit of account. And then the bankers would show up and be like, ha ha ha, prince, you don't know any better. We're going to enrich ourselves at the expense of you and sort of everyone using your unit of account. So it generated its own kind of instability. But really what happened was these clubs were sort of supported by an alliance between the French king and the Florentine bankers. And with the rise of the Spanish and an alliance between them and the Genoese bankers, they sort of contested for dominance over the clearing clubs, and they shifted the sort of balance of power away from Lyon and Florence, where they were really focused on financing trade, to a new model run by the Genoese that was primarily focused on financing the Spanish, and not just financing trade, but actually delivering gold for the Spanish to be able to fight their wars, right? So they were doing this like weird alchemy where all of a sudden the Spanish are bringing in all the silver from the New World. The Genoese would turn it into gold and then deliver that gold in Antwerp to pay soldiers, to fight the Dutch revolutions over there. And so that sort of changed the circuit of flow of money in Europe and forever transformed finance. So finance before that was really focused on financing trade, short-term credits. I deliver you goods today, you pay me in 3 months or whatever. And it moved towards a world of really financing the debts of states to fight wars. And I guess you could blame the Spanish and the Genoese for that, but there's a lot more complexity to the story. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for that. I'm sure our viewers are going to love that and dive into that.
I'll talk about the 16th century all day, any day. Yeah.
We're diving on in. Final question is from SP Kuza, which is, can you do a live freestyle rap about the Cosmos drama? Maybe not about the Cosmos drama, but maybe you can
not freestyle, but I can spit some lines from one of my tracks, I suppose. I just have to conjure the
if you want me to go.
Man, it's like Chicka 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 Cosmos IBC, hotter than a fat DeFi treasury, a gang of interchain friends with an airdrop cup when new chains stand up to cement a legacy. Cos Muhammad Bitcoin Jesusteen. Sorry, Doc, but we've been crazy. We decentralized the whole game, see? And you're just not gonna make it, Samani. Yeah. How's that?
That was a mic drop moment. That's been my favorite
Okay,
Euro interview segment to date.
All right, well, I'm glad I got the opportunity. So
thank you so much for your time. That was amazing
thank
to
you. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, you too.
Well, a huge thank you to Ethan for his time. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. If you did, make sure to like the interview, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share the interview with someone who might also find it useful. Also, I'd encourage you to check out the links in the description. We have the Coin Bureau deals page, which is where you can get trading fee discounts on some of the best exchanges and also hardware wallets and so much more. And hopefully see you all again very soon.